One of the real disappointments for me has been the progressive movement. I really got into organizing after I sold the radio station back in 2014, and I kind of flailed around looking for various things to do. Got pretty into organizing work with the Green Party here in Montgomery County, Maryland, which didn't go quite as well as I had hoped. There were certain issues with the Green Party, but I'm all in for the Greens. But I can see why there's, honestly, they have their challenges, and I get why, honestly, there's a lot of skepticism about the Green Party. And I see that, but I also believe there's no better option. There's really not even a viable option right now for us to move forward. I had hoped, I really did have hopes that progressive Dem-enter type groups, we're going to, like what Cenk did and Kalinsky, who's really been a sellout. Man, he's been a disappointment. What a progressive he is. But the idea we're going to put people like AOC, we're going to be able to take over the Democratic Party, that felt real to me. It doesn't feel real anymore. So this is such a perfect example of the utter intellectual, I won't say moral bankruptcy, but the intellectual bankruptcy of the progressive movement. I was actually on a PDA call last night, and I have been, I didn't say anything. I just, you could say something, which I want to give PDA a lot of credit. I was worked for our revolution, and they don't have any means. They don't provide. Our revolution provides zero means for its activists, its donors, whatever term you want to use, to provide feedback, to provide input into what the organization does. There's none of that in our revolution. Our revolution is totally top down. And it's not even just like top down from the staff down. It's top down from the executive director and the chair down. They tell you, and then you tell the members. I give PDA a lot of credit. That is not how PDA works. In PDA meetings, everyone gets a chance to raise their hand. They're given an opportunity to speak. It's not like you put a question in and then maybe they'll ask it if they like the question. So I give PDA that much credit, and it's significant. It is a far more democratically run operation than our revolution. But that said, their MO is to promote the Democratic Party. Their MO is to promote those whom they consider to be, those whom they call progressive Democrats, whether they are or not. And they really don't get it, nevertheless. On that call, there was a real, as I mentioned, there's a lot of ways you can input. You can have you get your say on a PDA call. So I'm on the call last night, and a number of people are very critical of the Democratic Party, of the way that AOC didn't get that ranking committee chair for the oversight committee, from the support for the genocide, the failure to learn anything from the two defeats to Trump. So the rank and file in PDA really does get it, and they're not happy. By the way, hey, Ari, good to see you in the chat. Just want to let you know I am checking that out. So there's definitely a groundswell, at least in progressive Democrats of America, to maybe we got to go somewhere else. Maybe the Democrat Party, my view, the Democrat Party cannot be a change agent. But the leadership there, they're not listening. They give you a voice, unlike our revolution, which doesn't give rank and file a voice. They give you a voice, but they don't listen. So here, their latest call to action is just absurd. It is a complete and utter waste of time. I got this today call Jamie Raskin and tell him, what is this? They're saying don't vote or vote not to seat the insurrectionist. It's a complete performative. It has no meaningful value whatsoever. Congress is in Republican hands. Trump is going to become president. You're not going to stop him. No matter what you say about an insurrection or not, you aren't going to keep him out of the White House. Why would you think that a purely symbolic move has any real value? In fact, it's incredibly counterproductive. What we have seen from the American public, and what makes sense, is trying to pass legislation that will make life a little better for the American public. How is voting against Trump and Vance being confirmed going to help that? It's not. It's just going to piss people off. It's just going to piss off the, if not majority, the 49.9% of Americans who voted for Trump. It's going to make them say these people aren't serious. They're hyperpartisan. They attack us, but we're the ones who want to work with them. At least they can say that, whether it's true or not. And before we get to the ask, which I find so ridiculous, so ludicrous, look at what I highlighted there. That this is from PDA. He did us proudly in the House impeachments of Trump. A complete failure. Those impeachment hearings were a waste. They weren't just a waste of time. They were purely counterproductive. In 21, what you should have been doing is, if you're a progressive, if you want to make life better for the American people, which Jamie Raskin claims to be, what he should have been doing, what would have made PDA proud, is leading the charge for Medicare for all, pushing hard against the Democratic establishment, saying we've got to do this for the American people. PDA says we'll only endorse Democrats who support Medicare for all. Well, Raskin pays lip service to Medicare for all, but in the end has done nothing to advance it. In fact, by leading that House impeachment effort, he made it more difficult, more unlikely that there could be Medicare for all. Any Republicans who might have considered supporting the effort, that might have been brought on board, or short of actual Medicare for all, voting to say lower the age of Medicare eligibility, which would be a significant step, by the way. Anybody you might be able to persuade to do that, you're hardening them. You're making it less likely. Any populists, you're making it less. They're going to say, we're not going to work with you. And of course, the impeachment of Trump only added to the narrative that he's the victim, that he's constantly being attacked by Democrats who are not interested in leading. Now, whether you believe that or not, whether you agree with that or not, that's what it did. Did it keep Trump from winning? Not at all. So PDA, I'm just at a loss to think why they would ever make this a centerpiece of a strategy. Is like, let's call Raskin and tell him to vote what? Hold them accountable. You don't have a majority in Congress. Also, look, I get the argument, right? It is in the Constitution. If you're an insurrectionist, you don't get to be president. I understand that. And I think there's a fair argument. Yeah, Trump. Yeah, it was, what he did was terrible. Trying to stay in office when clearly he had lost. It's clearly anti-democratic. It was an awful thing that he did. I'm not in any way going to defend that. But what I'm going to say is, nevertheless, it looks really bad when the American public vote for Donald Trump and you say, we're not going to let him take the seat. We're not going to let him take office. It looks like you don't really care about democracy. It looks like you're uninterested in the will of the people. And that would in fact be the case. Clearly, if somehow the Democrats said, yeah, please click subscribe. I moved all the boxes around so I could put that subscribe button up there and you'd see it when I played it, the subscribe GIF, I think is the word that I was looking for. Yeah, it looks like you're a Democrat who doesn't care about democracy. Because Trump won the friggin' election. That's who the people want. They all knew about the insurrection. They all knew what he did. And more Americans voted for him by far than anybody else. It looks like a trick. It looks like you can't win by fairly. You can't win by just having the best candidate who argues persuasively that their policies will make life better for the American people. So you're trying to stop the guy who did beat your ass. What are they thinking? 240-242-5646. 240-242-5646. Oh, from Ari, just getting back to the conversation about drinking. Coffee. Yeah, I love coffee. I don't believe, now I really hope, I was thinking about this when I was doing my program, because I drink pretty much like a liter of coffee a morning, maybe a little less, not quite. So maybe 25 ounces. A liter would be 33.6 ounces, I believe. So I probably drink somewhere between 25 and 30 ounces of coffee, which is what, 4 cups, 5 cups, something like, because they say 6 ounce cup versus an 8 ounce cup, somewhere in that range, right? 2 large, it's not an incredibly big amount of coffee, but it's a lot of coffee. I like coffee. I have read it's not bad for you. Might make you a little more agitated, keep you from sleeping. I don't have trouble sleeping at night. I wake up in the middle of the night. I have no trouble going to sleep. I don't think it has anything to do with caffeine. So from all I've read, coffee is not a health problem. But I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. 240-242-5646. Text, call, what have you. Put it in Halitics for crying out loud. But one thing don't do. Don't say, well, we should keep Trump from taking office because look, I get it. You made your case. The American public rejected it. The court of public opinion said, we don't care, or we don't care enough to vote for Kamala.